Good evening. My name is Ray Dwyer, and this is Dr. Joe Dispenza's Meditation and Book Discussion Group. Tonight, we are studying Becoming Supernatural, Chapter 12, the Pineal Gland, the source of your sixth sense. Did you know you had a sixth sense? This isn't woo-woo. This is biological, and it's right about here. And we're going to be talking about that, talking about the wonders of that very natural device. This tiny gland has been talked about in spiritual traditions for centuries, but chapter 12 gives us something different. It gives us the science behind those mystical ideas. What we're about to discuss isn't mythology, it isn't wishful thinking, it's biology, it's physics. And when you put these together with meditation, you get the possibility of profound, life changing experience. Isn't that something? This chapter shows us how we can move beyond the limits of our senses into the world of energy, frequency, and information, and how the pineal gland is the key that makes it all possible. The chapter begins by reminding us that the most of us spend the day locked inside the same three limitations: the body, the environment, and time. Those first three energy centers that we spend a great deal of time in our meditations, healing, energizing, and getting free of the programs that we're locked into. Meditation helps reverse those, what we bound to. When we sit still long enough and breathe long enough and quiet the chatter long enough, the senses finally begin to settle. That's why the breathing in this meditation is different from so many other meditations. This meditation is meant to quiet you. But that's why this is at the end of the program. I could have never quieted myself the first couple of years I was doing this work. I hadn't learned to let go. I hadn't learned to be quiet. Once you move beyond your senses, even for a moment, something unusual begins to happen. The brain starts to pick up on frequencies that were always there, but were drowned out by the noise of the outer world. Think of it like tuning the volume down on a loud room. Suddenly, you can hear sounds you didn't know were there. When your mind is really busy, you know what it's like. You got six things you're chasing. You're missing details just trying to get it all done. Stress does that. You ever been so stressed out? You get what I call stress blindness. Things just seem to disappear. You're doing something and you just scatter and then you go, where'd it go? You know you haven't even left your desk and you're so stressed out, you put down your pencil and it just isn't there anymore until you, oh, I did. I used to get stressed out of my mind, because I was working on the edge of my abilities and people were very important people were standing in line for very expensive projects. And you don't get it wrong in those environments. And I was just stressed out of my mind. Whatever is happening in their mind seems more real than in any past external event. That's from page 255. When you have one of these special events, it's real. It is so, so real. And here's the amazing part. When people reach that level of stillness, the brain starts producing incredible high bursts of electrical energy. These aren't random spikes. They're coherent, organized surges of activity that marks a jump in consciousness. That's why mystical experiences often feel more real than this real. There's no competition from the outside world. All your awareness is focused inward, and the emotional intensity of the inner experience rewires you physically, neurologically, hormonally. Your biology upgrades to match the event. Now, what's really, really cool about that statement is that when you have one of these events, you are literally changing the wiring of your body. You are literally changing the DNA of your body. Now, let me say that better. You are changing the DNA expression of your body. Pretty cool. Just because you were born with a DNA in tendency, shall we say, does not determine the absolute DNA event in your life. That is not woo woo. That's science now. How can we have a fully amplified sensory experience without our oneness, or without our senses? I didn't read that very good. Let me read it again. How can we have a fully amplified sensory experience without our senses? What are the specific functions of the brain and body that translate interactions with a quantum field into profound inner experiences? How do we do that? We're talking about tuning in to the quantum field, not radio frequencies, the quantum, greater than light frequencies. And we can be influenced, touch, translate that into our life. That is no longer woo woo. That's rock solid science, repeatable through many different places. Have you had one of those experiences that you finish and you go, wow, and I mean, that was not your everyday experience. That was not an experience from memory or your senses. You tuned in to something outside of your sensual life. Have you? Let's talk about it in a few minutes. The, there's four states of consciousness which will provide the framework for the formation of this chapter. This is pretty basic stuff, but it just gives us a place to start talking. The first is wakefulness. We're wide awake. The next is sleep. We're unconscious and the body is restoring and repairing. Not a big deal. Then comes dream state, our sleep state, but our consciousness gets active in our sleep state, which is the altered state of consciousness where the body is catatonic, but our minds are engaged in inner visual. And finally, there's the transcendental moments of consciousness that are beyond our understanding in this reality. We have an experience that we cannot explain by Newton's by Newton's law of physics. These transcendent events seem to change us and the way we look at the world forever. Have you had one of those? Have you had one of those pineal events that when it's over, you look at the world and go, I see and understand the world a little differently? I'd like to hear your story in a few minutes. Just not a half an hour testimony like I tend to give. I'm learning to get it down to 5 minutes anyway. But let's just something that says, yeah, I did that. This is what happened to me. And why would I ask that of you? Because there are some who have never had anything like that and can't imagine or understand what it feels like. And seeing normal people say, oh, yeah, I was in meditation and it just opened up. It helps build confidence in the possibility. Possibility. Don't you know that's the doorway from a life of physical being? And someone comes up and convinces you, it's possible. Really? Absolutely. The idea of possibility changed my life. To understand pineal's role, let's look at four states: wakefulness. This is the world we all know, thinking, analyzing. In this state, the brain waves runs on beta waves. This is what I'm doing now. I'm doing a beta wave thing, and I'm relaying what I know, cognitive information that I gained by study, by work. Actually, I'm communicating my past. This is my experience, not in the moment, present moment, but this is my past experience, what I've studied that I'm communicating. That's wakefulness. Sleep is when night comes. The body repairs itself. The mind goes quiet. The pineal is still active in a steady, rhythmic way. It's just like the heart. It's just running, tuning, sensing, communing with your three lower energy centers: the body, the environment, and time. The dream state. This is where the story gets interesting. Dream senses shut off. Your body is uh, paralyzed, but your brain lights up. It creates images, sounds, and stories. Many dreams are mostly just the body processing traumas and events of the day, just kind of shaking it off and dumping it. But every now and then, something other than dreams, body dreams happen. And you know when you wake up that you had an experience that had nothing to do with your life. Yeah, those are cool too. Dreaming like that, like learning how to call up lucid dreams, as some call it, is a mystical practice experience. Kind of fun. Opens up your understanding of possibility. Then there's the transcendental state. This is what Dr. Joe is aiming for in his discussion with Pineal, to help you learn, to give you the possibility to learn that you have the human experience to open up your life experience to the mystical as a normal. Now, you may never be a channeler that you can sit there and read people all the time. No, I wouldn't even worry about that. Don't make it part of your list. What you're after is to tune in to the energies that help you guide and live your life. It's really sweet. Talking to a friend the other day, one of the local kind of a experienced Dr. Joe stuff. He was in a park doing a park walking meditation, and he's just zoned out. He's barely able to walk. He's like this. And this little bird lands on his shoulder and he stops. And this little bird just turns and looks right at him. I mean, he said, I was really zoned out. And I just acknowledged the bird. Said, and I think, hi, bird. And somebody says, hey, you got a bird in your shoulder. And it startles him. And so the bird jumps off and he just lands on the ground a couple feet away. And he's still there. And so he takes his hand like this. And he said, and I just decided to love the bird for a minute. And the bird got up from the ground, flew, and landed in my hand. And I just sat and communed with the bird for a few minutes. And then the bird flew away and he had a beautiful day and stuff. Just how would you like to do that in a meditation? Oh my goodness, that would be a cool thing to be able to talk about. That is the what you get when you open your possibility, or should I say, when you turn possibility into reality. These four states show us that the brain already knows how to work with the inner imagery and inner reality. The transcendence is simply consciousness entering a dreamlike state while fully awake. Let's start talking about melatonin. What is the purpose, the function, the main organ, the main result when the pineal stirs? The first thing that people talk about is melatonin. When you wake up in the morning and return to the world of senses, the moment your eyes perceive light through your iris, receptors in the optic nerve sends a signal to part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. I don't think I said that right. It then sends a signal to the pineal gland, which responds by making serotonin, the daytime neurotransmitter. So Mel has put you to sleep, and Sarah wakes you up. Melatonin is the chemical pineal produces at night. But calling it a sleep hormone doesn't do it justice. Melatonin is actually the doorway into the inner world. It is a molecule that shows your brainwave software, your awareness of your surroundings, and opens the gates to dreaming. Melatonin is the formation chemical of the brain. If you have your book on page 258, it's called the methylation process. The brain starts with melatonin and it begins to break down through different compounds. So melatonin is the foundational compound, but the brain changes it as it needs different things. On page 257, as night falls and it gets dark, a similar but inverse process occurs. The inhibition of light sends a signal along the same route back to the pineal gland, but now the pineal gland transmutes serotonin into melatonin, the nighttime neurotransmitter. This produces and releases the melatonin, slows down your brain waves from beta to alpha, making you sleepy, tired, and less likely to want to think and analyze. As your brainwave slows down to alpha, you become more interested in returning your attention to your inner world rather than your outer world. You see, meditation, that alpha wave mindset, is the result of going into melatonin. Melatonin is the result of sitting quietly with your eyes covered to turn out the lights. As long as your eyes are seeing lights, you're going to have a hard time getting out of serotonin because serotonin says, hey, I see light, we're busy. Now, yes, you can with discipline. You can get around it, but generally it's easier to get into alpha waves with your eyes closed, right? And that's the natural process. When melatonin rises, the brain begins moving from beta to alpha and then to theta, eventually to delta. Each of these steps takes you deeper into the inner landscape. And the peak of melatonin around 1 to 4 a.m. lines up with the times mystics have practiced nighttime meditations for centuries. And this is why, throughout different books, Dr. Joe says, meditate in the morning between 1 and 4. I used to get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock every morning. Now I've gotten lazy and I'm not as desperate and I'm a little bit more conditioned. So I get up when I get up, generally around 6. But how much do you want it? If you really, really if you're really, really in that fight, in that struggle, that's the time to do it. And then go back to bed if you have to. Melatonin is also deeply healing. It's anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, regenerative, and it helps produce the DHEA anti-aging hormone. But as powerful as it is, melatonin is just the beginning. Sleep is healing. If you're living your life on 4 hours sleep, you're trimmed away a big part of your body's ability to sleep. And you're living in stress, which also trims away your body's ability to heal. Find a way to get enough sleep so that you release that deep melatonin and you release those hours of stress so your body can heal. Under heightened energetic conditions, the kind you create in deep meditation, melatonins become raw minerals for more advanced neurotransmitters. These molecules open the door to a completely different level of consciousness. The chemistry of melatonin. Remember, melatonin is your nighttime sleep. And this is where your body does its healing. This is where your body does its mind healing, its mystical release. This is where you put away your analytical mind for a little while. And sometimes, with a little training, and sometimes just by nature, you'll have lucid dreams where you touch on that other side of the door and you have a healing or an event that meant to teach you something about a greater life. From melatonin, you get tryptophan, 5-HTP, serotonin, melatonin. The process happens inside the pineal gland. It's like a tiny chemical assembly line. But the real magic is what comes next. Melatonin can transform under the right conditions into a family of chemicals that are far more powerful than anything your body normally sees or uses. These advanced molecules heighten your senses, open your inner vision, and help you perceive higher frequencies. On page 258, the methylation process, tryptophan, alaquin. Let's see if I can read some of these. Serotonin, hydroxy. Oh, it's too small from these old eyes. If you've been to one of Dr. Joe's conferences lately, he is now telling people that DMT is a normal release of the pineal gland. All you have to do is know how to do it. When the body is trying to rest in this vigilant state, it never gets the restorative sleep it needs because the survival chemicals like cortisol have switched on the survival genes. As long as cortisol is working in you, that means you're not, even if you're sleeping, you're not having peaceful sleep. That means you're not healing and your DNA is releasing survival chemicals. God, I lived through that most of my life. This transformation is essential for mystical experiences. Activating pineal gland. The pineal gland is on 261. The pineal gland is a neural endocrine transducer secreting melatonin responsible for the psychological circadian rhythm control. A new form of biomineralization has been studied in the human pineal gland and consists of small crystals that are less than 20 microns in length. These crystals are responsible for electromechanical biological transduction mechanism in the pineal gland due to the structure and piezoelectric properties. It took me a few times to even be able to say that stuff. Now I understand it. But if you don't understand what I just read, you're in good company. Don't worry about it. We'll work on it. Inside the pineal gland are tiny calcite crystals, the same kind of crystals used in radio receivers and quartz watches. These crystals have the special property they're piezoelectric. That means when pressure is applied to them, they produce an electric charge. When they're given just a little tiny bit of unusual pressure, they have a charge rise. Just like the crystal radio I played with when I was a teenager. You have a crystal radio in your head. Isn't that a cool thing to say? I have radio in my head. Like an antenna, the pineal gland, this is from page 261. Like an antenna, the pineal gland has the capacity to become electrically activated and generate electromagnetic fields that can tune in to information. Dr. Joe wrote that. My question is, what information and where did it come from? When you tune in a radio station, right? You tune and you get music or news. That's the information. And it identifies itself. This is ABC, such and such, W Dallas or whatever. So you know where it came from now. We are picking up, not even at work, not even when we try. This is an active crystal radio that is on all the time. We are picking up information. That's point number one. In addition, in the same way, an antenna pulses a rhythm or frequency to match the frequency of an incoming signal, the pineal gland receives information carried on invisible electromagnetic fields. Since all frequency carries information, once the antenna connects to the exact signal of the electromagnetic field, there must be a way to convert and descramble that signal into meaningful information. That's exactly what the transducer function of it is. And that's the second point. Not only does it get active, like tuning fork to tuning fork, it translates it, and the body gets information from it. Yeah, you got that little radio in your head. A transducer is anything that receives a signal in the form of one type of energy and converts it into a signal in another form. When the pineal gland acts as a transducer, it can pick up frequencies above our three-dimensional space-time sensory-based reality. Once the pineal gland is activated, it can tune into higher dimensions of this space and time, which we learned in the previous chapter is the realm of time-space. That higher frequency is outside the spectrum of light waves. You can do that. That is part of your human possibility. And the question that blew up in me is, then why am I not doing it? And how do I do it? The first question is every bit as important as the second. You can't do it because you were educated out of it and you were never trained into it. Who here actually, before you started doing Dr. Joe's work, ever thought that you had a radio in your head that you could tune, not haphazardly, but tune to events at your choice? Why is tuning a big deal? Well, next week we talk about group coherence healing and tuning to another person's energy to aid them to increase their energy and love for them to be healed. Tuning is a human talent to do that. For the pineal gland to become active, four important things must happen. One is piezo effect. You got to charge it up. Two is the pineal gland has to be healthy enough to release its metabolites, those chemicals. Three, the energy is delivered directly to the brain. You've got to have a healthy enough connection so when the pineal gland releases those connections, all those other organs in that area, the thalamus, the hypothalamus, there's five of them, all have to work and communicate. Four, we'll get to that. Meditation creates that pressure. How does meditation create that pressure? We did it today. When you breathe in and raise your energy up and put your awareness in the sixth center and bump it up, bump it up, bump it up, you're giving just a little bit of unusual, familiar pressure on your brain, and it wakes the piezo effect up of the pineal gland. That's how normal this is. All you have to do is become aware of it and meditate with your breath. Now, breath exercises in meditation are as varied, excuse me. Breath exercises in meditation are as varied as culture around the planet. And they all have a success in them, or they wouldn't do them very long. Even Mr. Weinhoff, huffing and puffing to get ready to go in the ice bath, has a purpose and a success with it. But I would suggest not to do Weinhoff, huffing and puffing when you're trying to do this type of work. This is a quieting type of work. You want your body to calm and get quiet. You want to quiet the voice of your three energy centers, your body, your environment, and time. You want to quiet the hunger in your heart and the urge to express in your fifth energy center. You want to quiet it down and raise it up into your upper centers and rest in the pressure that you're putting on your pineal gland and become aware, not attentive, not attention. Don't turn your head around and point it. Just become aware of your pineal gland and possibly aware of the rising energy in it. As you breathe deeply, the spinal fluid begins to move. As you concentrate, electric charge builds in the brain. And all of this creates a subtle pressure inside your skull. Sometimes you can feel it when you get it right. When the pineal crystals feel that pressure, they start generating electricity. They begin to vibrate, and that vibration turns the pineal gland into an antenna. How cool is that? A real antenna. It detects signals or it transmits signals. That's it. You got antennas on your car, antennas, on your phone. That's what they do. Cerebral spinal fluid moves through the closed system called the ventricular system. You might want to review figure 12.5. The ventricular system facilitates the movement of this fluid from the base of the spine up through the spinal column, through the four chambers of the brain called aqueducts or ventricles, and back down the sacrum, the base of the spine. When you inhale and follow your breath, this is not an accidental, this is a deliberate, intentful message to your body to draw that pressure up. And follow your breath to the top of your head, and then hold your breath and squeeze up, 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 and in. You are accelerating the cerebral spinal fluid. That is from page 265. It begins to pick up electromagnetic frequencies from the quantum field. It just does. It's a good antenna, and so it tunes in and responds. Frequencies far beyond the visible light spectrum. Much like sending a rocket ship into space, overcoming gravity to get it off the ground is the hard part. So, to move that energy from our lower centers demands a great deal of intensity and effort and intent. The breath becomes our passionate intention. When I do it, I intend to feel a pressure wave moving up. I seek it in my sense of feeling in me, and I tell it the story of bringing energy up into my brain. The breath becomes our passionate intention to free ourselves from the self-limiting emotions of our past. That is part of my intention. Part of my intention is breathe in, and part of my intention is to let go, bring my soldiers home and turn that energy into a healing force in my body and bring that energy up. And release it. Take another breath. Bring it in and release it. The intention is to bring the energy up and pressure into my head and to bring the energies of my centers in and have a moment of healing and release it. Translating quantum information. Now that you got your bell rung, now that your crystals are humming along, now that your tuning fork has picked up this signal with this over here, once the pineal gland is activated, it begins to detect frequencies that are not part of the physical world. These frequencies come from the unified field, a field of energy and information that exists beyond time and space. What an outrageous statement for humble humans to say we can do. But that is the function of the pineal gland. I think that is outrageous to be able to say that. But that is not woo-woo. That is actual proven science now. Every frequency carries information. And when the pineal receives that information, the brain converts it into imagery, symbols, sensations, intuitive knowing, like I was talking about, where I remembered something and realized I never learned it before. Just intuitive knowing. Oh, I know that. Burst of insights. You're trying to solve a problem. You go, oh, I see it. That's your pineal gland helping you along. Biological upgrades. When we talk about biological upgrades, we're really talking about what happens after the mystical event. Could happen during, depends on how long the event is, I guess. The aftermath, the integration, the transformation, that energy goes through your body, and your body sometimes has a lag time. Sometimes it's rather abrupt, but sometimes there's a lag time. And that's why repetition is taught by Dr. Joe everywhere, every time. Do it again and again and again and again and again. It takes repetition to get through the body memory. You can re-educate your brain, but this body memory is tenacious. So drive it in, do it again and again and again until your body mind accepts it. The resistance isn't up here. You had a mind blowing event and you know it, but your body is still going, oh, I remember what we did last year. I'm still doing that. It takes time and repetition to change your body mind. You ever wonder why you can have an event and go back the next day and go, nothing's changed. Your mind is ready to change. Your body's not. So please understand the repetition is not something weak. It is simply how you are made. Okay? We talk about biological upgrades. Okay. Dr. Joe shows us how the pineal gland activates, how it converts energy into perception, how it gives rise to inner visions and profound experiences. What happens next? What happens in the body when the pineal gland delivers those higher frequencies and the unified field flows into the nervous system? This is where the mystical experience becomes a physical reality. You've heard me talk about mind so many times, I'm not going to bore you with it again. But the body will respond when this energy gets into the body, not just a head job, but you accept it and receive it into you. Don't let it be just a light that comes on, like, oh, that was cool, and go your way. Get that light into you, into your heart. Find a way to make your heart respond. Love the dickens out of it until your heart has received that new information so it can radiate into your body this new message. Many things take repetition. Sometimes you just have a mind-blowing event and your whole body changes. Many times it takes repetition because that's body mind. The body mind is slow to change. Loud emotional signatures in the mystical moment send a chemical message through the body. Loud is a quote from Dr. Joe. Things are different now. But what if it's just a light that comes on? You got to get that light into you, into your heart. Your biology responds immediately when it's loud enough. People come out of these moments feeling lighter, healed, relieved, expanded, and they can't always explain why. I can tell you why, because that light was so mind changing that you accepted into your body and your body had no choice but to receive it. Even this stubborn man. But sometimes it's just a voice that says, hey, I love you. You're not alone. If you shun it, that may be the last voice you hear for a while. If you receive it and love it back and get that little voice into you, Pretty soon you might find yourself with a little visitor that loves to say good morning to you. Wouldn't that be cool? And all you've done is clean and turn on your pineal gland so it seeks that signal. When you learn to tune in, you don't have to be a meditator. You just got to learn to tune in. And people stumble into it all the time. Artists tune into it all the time. Engineers tune into it. Athletes tune into it. This is a normal thing for the human experience. That's what was shocking to me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this stuff was for mystics, you know?
Yeah.
No, that's for people who got free. Ah, that's the only requirement. You don't need to sit and spend hours of meditation. If you can figure out how to get free on your own, how to move into that trance state, how to become a flow artist, that's what they do.
I
They,
think that's the challenge. Um,
yeah,
is and to, you know, it may take longer than 6 weeks, it may take shorter than, things, but um it's and it happens different every time when I have really tough questions like, should I take this job? Should I tough it out and stay where I am? Should I look? If I do look for another job, what type of job? How will I know? Um, and that one took 5 months um, to
yeah.
to figure it out. But when I walked in the building for the interview, it was like suddenly I felt like a different person. I felt like I stood stronger. It's almost like I owned the building. It was the weirdest thing. And
Yes, I know that feeling.
and then when I walked out of the building, I was back to my regular self and I thought, "Oh, this is so weird." So then I acted like I forgot something. So I went back in the building and it happened again. And I thought, "You know what? If I get this offer, this is feels right. This is where I need to be." Even though it seemed like the most boring, yucky job. And I've been there about a year. And to tell you the truth, it's been one of the best experiences.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's, I hope everybody listening finds your story as a model. Don't try to repeat what she did. This is her story, just like my bizarre story is my story. But both of them, I see a model, a principle that walks side by side with her story and my story. That surrender point where just says, I'm dying. You've heard me say it numerous times. How much do you want it? Do you want it enough to give up this goofy ego and try to be somebody else and allow yourself to be somebody else? I see a parallel in her story, totally different from mine. Can you hear that story and my story and find the principles that we're talking about? I hope so. Thank you very much. That was great. Let me continue. Frozen. Okay.
I have a very quick comment. I
Okay.
have been looking for jobs within my organization, and I was so worried of, from these offers, which one would be better for my path. And Sharon saying what she said really resonated. Because I'm like, oh, in the interview, can I say the right? I was a tad worried because I have an interview tomorrow. And I'm like, how would I know which opportunity is the right one? So thank you, Sharon, for mentioning what you did.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
I will tell you that for me, I focus on my solar plexus area and really like it's a vortex, like it's circular. Sometimes that helps, sometimes it doesn't. But I couldn't tell you the interview went on for an hour and a half when I went through. I couldn't tell you what they asked. I don't remember the whole thing, but I do remember going into it thinking I have to be authentic, I have to be real, and I have to ask them those hard questions because I don't want to jump from where I am now, or where I was at that time, like from the fire into the into the frying pan. And I'd rather ask the hard question and be disappointed than kind of go, oh, I want the job so bad. I'm just trying to get away. I wasn't focusing on getting away from something. I was focusing on where is the right place to go. And then if that wasn't it, then I would just keep going. I would just keep looking, that kind of thing. I hope that helps. But good luck tomorrow. I'll be sending you good wishes.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you very much.
If you have a no that echoes in your mind like I did most of my life, I think I've showed this to you guys before. If you look at my whiteboard, I keep a yes, like a yard sign on my whiteboard. So I read it every day that I have a yes in my mind. You see that? Because I grew up with nothing but no's. It didn't matter what the question or my effort was, the answer is no. And that became a program in me that was terribly hard for me to push against. And here I am, an old man, and I still have to argue with myself to give myself permission. Isn't that funny? That's how deep those childhood programs are. And so I keep a sign in my room here. And every morning, one of the first things I see is I tell myself yes. And my mind says yes to what? Yes to anything that rises in my heart. Now get out of here. Okay, let me continue. Yes. Yeah, I do that. I do this change me stuff. I do. Okay, automatic nervous system takes over. That's kind of what we're talking about. Up to this point, your conscious mind has been the one doing the meditation, doing the breath, placing attention, holding intention. But the moment you slip into that deep mystical state, get out of your beta, move into alpha, and start putting your toes in theta. The moment the analytical mind lets go, the body's autonomic nervous system steps forward. These guys come in and you start going to autonomic health and prosperity and abundance. It's all there. We've just been programmed into saying no. This part of you that already knows how to slow your heart because you're breathing, regulate your hormones because of your peace, repair your DNA because that new light's coming in, fight infections because you let go of stress and your immune system turns on, digest food. Do you know you could eat the healthiest food in the world, but if you're stressed out, you won't absorb it? Save your money until you can break that stress. Regulate inflation, rebuild tissue. All of that happens when you move into meditation. If you don't ever have a mystical experience by giving yourself time in that alpha theta way and teaching yourself peace, you will be a healthier person just doing that. Isn't that worth the effort? And in a mystical moment, it gets the green light to do its work without interference from the old emotional programs of survival. You start doing stuff automatically. You don't need to know all the mysticism that goes with it. Just give it the environment of peace and love and light, and your autonomic nervous system will know what to do to give you love, gratitude, and health. Your body finally gets access to the resources it has been waiting for: coherence, mind and heart, calm, elevated emotions from the heart, and a flood of energy. I felt goofy for a while because I didn't know what to do with what was this new light that was in me. In that state, the autonomic nervous system becomes the healer. You don't know how you digest your food. Don't try to decide and think you need to know how you heal. What you need to know how is how to give yourself the environment to allow your body to heal. That's what it needs. And that environment is love and peace. This is why people describe spontaneous healing, sudden relief, shifts in long held anxiety, release from grief, emotional breakthroughs. The body simply recognizes around the new signal. The body reorganizes around the new signal. You have a new signal coming into you, one of coherence and love. And the body goes, yay! And you start reorganizing. Your DNA releases new new hormones, proteins. Your pineal gland releases new metabolites, and your body gets the instruction to heal and relax. You don't have to know anything about mysticism. You could think it's just goofy. Fine. But you will still heal. You will still have peace. And you might just discover love. Genetic expression changes. That's called epigenetics. It's been mentioned in all three books. This is not a metaphor. It's literally gene regulation changing. Dr. Joe explains is that the elevator in motion signal the body to turn on gene pathways for growth and repair, while simultaneously shutting off stress-regulated genes that were active during survival motions. So we have certain gene expressions that are meant to keep us safe and keep us in stress so that we can have that extra adrenaline, extra cortisol, extra alertness. We turn that off, and now we can be quiet. Now we can be calm. Now that we can fight off diseases and immune systems. And from my experience, you can fight off some outrageously crazy diseases that doctors tell you will kill you. When you enter a heightened state of love, gratitude, awe, or unity, the body receives biochemical instructions. Isn't it something? The body instructions are different when you're healthy, when you're in love, than when you're angry. They activate immune functions, anti-inflammatory, antioxidants, cellular regeneration, stem cell related activity, improved metabolic regulation. In other words, the biology matches the mystical consciousness. Your biology is matching your consciousness. This is what's meant by the word that Dr. Joe uses. You get an upgrade. Melatonin gets an upgrade. Early in this chapter, melatonin was introduced as the dream molecule. But here we see that when the brain is flooded with electrical energy, the gamma bursts that come with transcendence, melatonin itself transforms into higher order metabolites. When your pineal gland or the third eye is awakened because it's packing up higher frequencies, these higher energies alter the chemistry of metabolism. This is what I was trying to get to earlier. The higher the frequency, the greater the alteration. It is this translation of information into chemistry that primes you for the transcendence mystical moment. The frequencies of your pineal gland instruct the pineal gland how to transmute melatonin. The higher the frequency, the greater the transmutation. Those upgrades include heightened sensory, expanded awareness, deeper intuition, produce bliss, allow the brain to perceive higher frequencies, stabilizes the mystical experience. The chemistry matches the consciousness. You don't have to make it do it. You tune into the higher frequencies, and your pineal gland will respond chemically. I think that's cool as beans myself. This is why the mystical state feels so vivid, powerful, and lasting. These are not ordinary neurotransmitters. These are the biochemical signatures of transcendence. These are real chemicals you produce in your body because you're having a frequency event. These are not pills you take. During the mystical experience, the heart becomes highly coherent. That means the heart and the mind sync up. You've seen those pictures that Dr. Joe has. Smooth, rhythmic elevation. In fact, the heart often becomes coherent before the brain does. I would have thought the other way around. But that's because I tend to be heady. A little bit of honesty there. But the heart teaches the head how to feel, how to tune to, what to tune to. My head wants to think about it. My heart wants to feel it and be it. And so my heart, even as stubborn as this old guy is, I find my heart leading my head, just like it says. And when they both sync up, the heart broadcasting coherence to the brain broadcasting coherence to the body, the entire nervous system aligns around a new internal order. The coherence is the biological foundation for emotional stability, deep intuition, clarity, thinking, senses, feeling, in connection. Coherence is not just a nice feeling. Coherence is your new operating system. If you have one of those truly coherent signals, you have changed your programs. Remember, we said all this stuff in our stress is a cultural program. You have just altered that program. An expanded electromagnetic field. This part is crucial. When the brain enters gamma states, those fast, powerful waves of high energy, the electromagnetic field around the head expands significantly. First of all, let's get real. Very few that I know have had mind-blowing, electrifying gamma state events. Most people get healed and have beautiful lives in theta, healing and intuition and communing. So a lot of people make a big deal about gamma, but mostly I just don't worry about it. Just thought I'd throw that in. Students often say, I felt better than my body. I felt like I filled the room. I wasn't in the room anymore. This is not imagination. This is physics. As the brain generates strong fields, the field of consciousness extends beyond the boundaries of the body. You become aware of more reality than just yourself. That is the essence of the mystical moment. When you feel the space about your space and you become thoroughly tuned into the H center, and you can say, there's my body, and look at me. And you can tune away into different fields. That's what they're talking about. But that's not gamma. That's theta and delta. But you can totally tune out from this. You are not your body. Your body is an expression of you. The particle does not define the wave. The wave defines the particle. That is so scientific. Even Einstein said that some 50 odd years ago. A new emotional baseline is installed. This section is beautifully described in the chapter. The elevated emotion from the mystical experience becomes the new set point, an automatic nervous system. In other words, your body now expects to feel good. When I had my event and I got up, my set point was way different. I got up off the floor knowing I was not who I thought I was. I had a serious change of set point. The nervous system accumulates to gratitude, joy, love, peace, connection. This emotional upgrade becomes your new home. Yeah, it really did. And it can happen to you. Do you get that I'm trying to communicate potential to each and every one of you? This is not because I'm some kind of mystic guy. Oh man, if you had known me before, you would have thrown me away like the doctors did. You know, we just heard a story of the lady that doctor said, you got less than a year. I was given 3 years. She wasn't given a year. And somehow she found it in herself to heal. Wow. I was at least given a few years. Talking about sending you home to die. My goodness. The potential is there. Take us serious. When your biology changes, your personality changes. You cannot return to the old you because your hormones are different, your neurotransmitters are different, your emotional baseline is different, your neural pathways are different, your perception is different, your field is different. The old self has no chemistry left to sustain it. I changed that day, and so did she. I had an abrupt thing. She had a growing thing. The principle is the same. The potential is the same. And that is resident in each and every one of you. Please hear that. This is where Dr. Joe ties everything together and answers a big question. Why do we even have this capacity? That question hides the statement because we're human, because I'm physical. Why do I have this? And that's the illusion that is wrong. The premise of this question, I would say, is wrong. Why did nature equip human beings with this? The premise of that is wrong because that starts with the nature question saying we are physical. A gland filled with crystals generate electricity under pressure, behavior like an antenna, tune to frequencies, trigger healing. Why do we have this ability at all? Because we are not physical. We are energetic beings with a physical expression. Why do all animals have it? Because they are energetic beings with a physical expression. All of creation is an energetic expression. I hope you're starting to see it. That's why you, as a creative human, can tune to it. The pineal gland is not just an organ, it is a portal. Most of the time when people talk about the pineal gland, they call it sleep gland. That's one of its functions. The pineal gland is actually a portal, a biological interface between the physical and the quantum, between you and the greater consciousness. It's like having a built-in spiritual receptor installed right in the middle of your brain. Ancient cultures have called it the third eye, the eye of Horus, the seat of the soul, the doorway to the divine. Modern science calls it a neural endocrine transducer, a frequency detector, a consciousness related organ. Dr. Joe said, modern science calls this. Step out of the premise of learning to be mystical and just learn to be a healthy human with a tuned in pineal gland. It's really exciting. When the pineal gland is active, it enables you to perceive reality without relying on it. But I think they're playing with that word reality. Without relying on your eyes, your ears, your physical time, your body, it lets you sense directly rather than through filters of the senses. This is why mystical experiences often include brilliant lights. You ever have a mystical experience and it's preceded by a flash of light and then you get it? I have friends that it's common for them to go through the kaleidoscope as they tune in to the mystical experience. I don't get that at all, but they sure do. Feelings of vastness, that's more like what I get. I go into a vast chasm and I have to kind of hold my courage because I feel like I was put in the universe. I'm a point in the vastness, and I have to just take a moment and get my courage back. I get a presence in the room sometimes. I'm here, I'm meditating, and I am all of a sudden not by myself. The pineal is translating high frequency, non-local energy into perception. It is your sixth sense, not metaphorically, but biologically. This is very much the same as your hearing sense. This is a sixth sense, and it tunes to frequency. Everything Dr. Joe teaches ultimately rests on this truth. You are connected to the unified field. You always were and always will be. It is a technical, scientific fact proven in science. But the outer senses block this awareness because we're busy with our energy here. That saturates your attention with body, environment, time, and survival. The pineal gland cuts through all this noise when it's turned on, and you can directly experience oneness, connection, timelessness, spacelessness, unconditional love, intelligence that feels infinite, consciousness that feels larger than you, the field where all possibilities exist. And it will just unravel all that social program if you ever get there. This is why people come out of mystical experience saying, I felt connected to everything. I knew I wasn't alone. Everything made sense. I touched something eternal. They touched the field with their biology. It amazes me, even to this day, when I read Dr. Joe's books, and I go, that is what I experienced. How can he write in a book what I experienced? It's because it's not unusual, right? Get over yourself. And in a way, that's reassuring because that way I can look at you guys and go, you can tap into that possibility too. I'm so common. I read my words in Dr. Joe's book. I'm just helping you understand Dr. Joe's book. This isn't anything about me. I shout and wave my flag, not to get attention to me, but as hope that you see all I did was do what the book said with all the intensity and passion I could stir up. Think about this. Your eyes don't see. Your brain interprets the photons. Your ears don't hear. Your brain interprets the vibration. Your skin doesn't feel. Your brain interprets the pressure points. In the same way, the pineal gland does not imagine. Your brain interprets the high frequency energy. The pineal is a transducer, which means it converts energy into information. This explains the visions, the downloads, the inner voices, the sudden clarity, profound knowing, intuitive leaps, geometric patterns, mystic light, the sense that the universe is speaking to you, or in this case, to me. It is your pineal gland that is translating its language, and it is your consciousness that is understanding. The pineal gland is built to evolve you. This was an odd thought I pulled out because I guess I still need to stretch my understanding of the word evolve. But don't we evolve when we learn? Don't experiences change us to some degree? It sure rewires our brain, but does our consciousness change when we have profound experiences? I think so. So in a way, if you take away Darwinian definition of evolve and you change it with it grows you and changes you, then that makes sense. Not intellectually, it does. Biologically, it allows you to transcend limits that you thought you had. That's what I mean by change. Break free of conditional program patterns. That's social stuff that we've been taught. Access higher order thinking. We find the possibility of tuning into things that we never dreamed we could actually seek. Open creativity beyond our wildest dream, enhance intuition, feel connected rather than isolated, step into larger identity. It is a biological mechanism designed to elevate human consciousness. It is designed to elevate you. Tune into it, practice it. This is not accidental. It is part of your evolutionary wiring. This is your intent here. I made a statement into this week's work of purpose. Love and light is your purpose here to grow. One of the most liberating ideas in this section is that mystical experience is not rare, not special, and is not for the chosen few. I thought I had to be some kind of mystic to get anywhere. I thought this unworthy army vet with a lifetime of darkness was going to need some kind of, how could I be worthy enough to get this? But this is not for the chosen few. See that little thing back here? This means this is for you too. This possibility is there. This potentiality is yours to learn to use. The pineal gland is the hardware. Melatonin, no, let me say it better. The pineal gland is the hardware. Meditation is the software. The unified field is the network. You are built for this. This is your design already. This is why when someone has a breakthrough, they often say, it feels familiar. It feels like coming home. That's the one that I get up off for. God, I felt like I was home. It was real, more real than anything. Because you already are ready. They are not reaching outside themselves. They're awakening something inside themselves. This is serious business. And I'm hoping that you see, that you learn that this possibility is not an abstract idea. No, you are already there. You just got to learn to allow it. If you want to compress, okay, the purpose of this pineal gland is to give human beings access to levels of reality that expand their consciousness, heal their bodies, and connect them to the greater intelligent universe. That is what I pulled out of this chapter. The purpose of the pineal gland is to give human beings access to levels of reality that expand their consciousness, heal their bodies, and reconnect them to greater intelligence of the universe. And you already are tuned to it. That is why the gland exists. This is why it has crystals. This is why it releases advanced metabolites. This is why it can receive and transduce frequencies. This is why it reacts to meditation. This is why it affects healing. This is why it changes the personality. It is the bridge between the finite self and the infinite field. That bridge is your birthright. Dr. Joe is simply teaching you how to walk across that bridge. There is a lot of technology that you can read about this. You can read about all the different chemicals as they stage down. You can read about the science experiments that absolutely will leave you jaw-dropping. You can read about the crop circles in England that are identical to the formula of melatonin. That was cool. You can read about how the seduceus, that's as old as the Hebrew text, teaches this. You can read about the eye of Ra from the ancient inscriptions in the temples of Egypt, is a sagittal cut of the human brain, and the pineal gland is right in the middle of it. You think that's an accident? But what does it get down to after you've learned all that scientific data? You get down to, now, how do I do it? Do you accept the possibility that you're willing to do it, that you're able to do it? I've made a separate paper for this that I'm going to post, but I'll go through it and talk with it tonight, just to get it on record. What time is it? 9:30. Oh, I better not. Well, I don't care. I can always cut it. It's 9:30, and it's going to take a while to go through this. Let's have a discussion before I actually go into how to energize the pineal gland. Anybody want to talk to me? No? I've only got 17 people online. I started with almost 30. I guess people didn't want to hear about that. Anybody want to talk to me about the pineal gland and my rah-rah for it? No? Okay. It's 9:30.
Ray, I find this topic very fascinating. I don't have nothing to say about it because I'm just interested to continue to learn as much as you're sharing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for telling me that I wasn't completely boring. You know, Sometimes when nobody answers, I think, oh, I missed it. Just sometimes I get this real active conversation. I really feel good. And other times I go, oh man, I missed it. No one talked to me. Okay. Before we began tonight, I played the pineal gland meditation by Dr. Joe. And we went through it and we followed what it told us to do. Now we're going to think about it. I'm going to make I've got this as a separate text file, and I'm going to post it in my WhatsApp so you can look for it. I've titled this paper, How to Energize the Pineal Gland. So let's talk about it. There's a few steps. Activation requires 4 events. This is from chapter 12, the first 3 in detail, plus the final step. Step 1, create the intratheorial theoretical. I don't know how to say that word. Intratheoretical pressure. That stuff that comes up your back. This is the core energizing action. You inhale slowly, contact the intrinsic muscles from the lower abdominal, follow the breath up the spine to the top of the head, and hold and squeeze. This pressure pushes the cerebral fluid up into and around the pineal gland, compressing the crystals and creating the piezo effect. When you hold your breath and squeeze, this extra volume of fluid exerts pressure, compressing the crystals, creating piezo effect. This is the mechanical activation. We've done it many times. We do it a lot more aggressive in the blessing of the energy centers. And if you've ever done the Wim Hof method for getting into cold water, you get it way too aggressive. This is a gentle breathing, hold, relax, drawing energy up, putting your awareness in the pineal gland area. Relax, and then release it out. Bringing it up, bringing it down, bringing it up, pump, put extra pressure on it, and then release it. Gentle is the active word. Pressure is the goal. You with me? This is not accidental. This is creative, deliberate, intentful, bringing energy up into your head. And you do it, and you can feel it when you do it right. This is what starts the activation of the pineal gland piezoelectric effect. Step 2, accelerate the cerebral spinal fluid. As breath and pressure increases, the spinal fluid moves faster through the ventricle. This stimulates the pineal gland because the fast-moving fluid tickles the cells, the little hairs of the pineal surface. This accelerated fluid tickles the tiny hairs, which overstimulate the pineal gland. This overstimulation causes the pineal gland to ejaculate its upgraded metabolites. Remember, the pineal gland is basic serotonin, melatonin. Serotonin, that's its normal. But as you get it excited, those metabolites change step by step until it gets into its new. So you accelerate that and get your head excited as you become aware of the space. Don't turn your attention inward. Become aware of the space of the radiant of your pineal gland. Generate the inductance field. As energy is pulled up the spine, charged particles accelerate. Every time you perform the breath, you send charged particles up the spine column, creating an induction field. Anybody build electromagnets as a kid? You have a coil around a conductor, and as you move the conductor, you get an electromagnetic field. You don't need a battery to have an electromagnetic. You don't need a battery to create an electronic field. You need a electromagnetic coil, and a ferrite. You have a body full of ferrite blood, and you drawing a magnetic field up it. You create a field. It's physics. It's not mysticism. This is why energy rising is often felt as buzzing, pressure, heat, vibration, euphoria, even. This cyclic, pulsating electromagnetic field. Once squeezed, the pineal crystals begin pulsing. Your head starts buzzing, starts getting noise, starts getting light, starts illuminating in your mind. Once squeezed, the piezoelectric crystals begin pulsing. The crystals stretch, then contract, fields reverse, compress them, again, creating another electromagnetic field. This rapid pulsing antenna, capable of picking up very high frequencies, that tube that I was talking about, when the frequencies get so high they don't ride a conductor, the pipe that they go into is called a waveguide. The signal goes through the airspace. It doesn't touch the metal. The frequency is so high, it's going through the waveguide. Place your antenna on the pineal gland. No, place your attention on the pineal gland. Your attention directs the energy. I would change that word. Dr. Joe uses attention. When I think attention, my head wants to turn around and look at it. I would say place your attentiveness. Then my awareness is different. That means I'm giving it, I'm trying to record the event without looking at it. You with me? Place your attentiveness on the pineal gland. Your attentiveness directs the energy, like here. Your intention. Dr. Joe instructs you to focus. Rest your attention between the back of your head, back of your throat, and your head in space. You are locating the gland. And by placing your attention there, you are placing your energy there. I find the wording on that challenging. When I put my attention there, my head engages and I want to look at it. So I simply change the wording, giving it new, little different definition. I place my awareness, my attentiveness, my intention there. And that does the job for me. You might consider that. This stabilizes the activation because I am giving it intention and awareness. Let's talk about how to direct it. Dr. Joe is very explicit in this. First, understand the chemistry. Once activated, melatonin begins its transformation. I've mentioned this, where when melatonin gets activated, it starts transforming. It doesn't do it just sitting there, but when you activate it, it starts interpreting that higher activation and changing its output. First into benzodiazepine, like relaxant. Then into pinolines, a powerful antioxidant, and ultimately into DMT. That's that hallucinogenic that people take drugs for. Alter melatonin one more time, and you produce dimethyltryptophan, DMT, one of the most powerful hallucinogenic substances known to man. Just think of that. You have the ability, the potential to tune in to some wild hallucinogenics by skillful meditation. The potential is there. It's scientific fact, not fantasy. It happens through frequency. How do you intend the pineal to release these compounds? He gives instructions. Dr. Joe gives instructions. Direct the energy to carry the intention. The intention is the tuning. The tuning is the intention. Direct the energy to carry the intention that this gland releases its sacred metabolites for mystical experiences. This is the only place in the book where he gives explicit intention wording. That in itself should tell you something. This is the only place in the book where he gives explicit intention wording. So this is how it goes. Activate the gland through breath mechanism. Focus the attention on the pineal placement. Hold a clear intention for it to release sacred metabolites. Tune into the frequency in space. Tune into that high frequency. Exact steps for intending the release. Locate the gland. Move your awareness to the pineal chamber. Move the chamber to the pineal gland and sense the space of that room. That's quoted from the meditation. Sense the frequency beyond the gland. Sense the frequency in space beyond the boundaries of the gland. That's a quote from the meditation. Broadcast your intention. Direct the energy to carry your intention that this gland releases its metabolites. Do not expect. Your expectation defeats it, turns it off. Just receive gently, graciously, with a heart of gratitude. Just receive. This is the exact method Dr. Joe gives for directing metabolite release, inducing DMT though he never tells you to ask specifically for DMT. Don't ask specifically. But that's not exactly correct either. Instead, he says sacred metabolites because the blend is what produces the mystical state. In the last week-long event I went to, the last hours of the event, he gave us the pineal gland meditation. And before he did, he put up the formula for DMT. And he says, see it, remember it, know it. Now let's go in meditation and intend it. You have the ability to call, to tune into things that you have no idea of the possibility. One of those is that when you learn how to do it, and you can get into that place, I can't always get there. Quite often, I can't get there at all. I seem to be busy with some other things lately. When you get there and you let go of this social program that keeps us stressed, you can creatively intend, deliberately intend, functionally intend to have some amazing experiences. It's there for you. Simplified, do the spinal breath, hold and squeeze, push the spinal breath into the gland, let the crystals create the piezo effect, focus your attention on the pineal gland, let the electromagnetic pulse build, and receive. Go in loving, go in open-hearted, go in free, surrendered to all that you program has given you. Just give it all up and just be you. After the breath, rest attention in the pineal space. Move awareness inside the gland. Sense the energy around the gland. Intend, release sacred metabolites. Stay open and receive without expectation. Just be there. And this is the direct quotes from chapter 12. That ends the how to exercise, energize. The biggest thing for me, I'm going to chat for a little bit until someone talks to me, is the acceptance of the possibility. You mean this is actual possibility? I can do this. It's possible. If I do the work, I can do this. I urge you to accept this as possibility for you. If you don't accept it as at least possibilities, you won't do the work. And that means all my time has been wasted. All your time has been wasted. This meditation was called the Pineal Gland Meditation. I bought it at drjoe.com in his shop. Talk to me, somebody. This can't be that boring that no one has anything to talk about. This is the culmination of this chapter, this 3 books. This is why people do this. They don't know it when they start, but this chapter is where it was all headed through all this time. So that you can tune in, release those elevated metabolites, and heal and commune with your divine and your guides and your teachers. As one teacher says, your masters, your teachers, and your loved ones. They're all there waiting for you to learn how to do this.
So okay, so we have the heart and then we have the pineal gland. If we want to get in touch with our guides, then we need the pineal gland. And so, or do we have to do both the meditations initially?
The foundation of the work is a heart-mind coherence. That was the first step that we said in that energizing the pineal gland. Coherence. That is why this is the last chapter of the last book, because coherence is what we practice for the past year, starting with the earliest blessing of the energy centers, then going through the placebo centers, learning how to give ourselves instructions. Then we went into the present moment, which is all about coherence. Now that we've practiced coherence and we're present moment, we draw energy up and ring our bell and turn on our radio station. Because as long as we are static, our head makes too much noise to hear the quiet voice of the pineal gland. First is coherence and present moment. That's why it's taught the way it is. Like I said when we started this book, the most important chapter in this book is chapter 2, the present moment.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you for going through the entire year of what is important. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you can read about swimming, but you don't know how to swim till you get in the pool. Karina, I see your hand up. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Hi Ray. Thank you so much for this fascinating chapter review. I just wanted to consult with your knowledge of electronics and what I am understanding from this pineal gland. Isn't it man-made antennas depend on the length of the antenna to be able to detect certain frequencies but not others?
You use the right word, certain frequencies. If you look at antennas, they are like every different shape and size imaginable. They are designed to tune to certain frequencies. When television first went to television broadcast, antennas looked pretty much alike. Some were more whiskers than others, depending on how much the person wanted to pay. But you could look at them and go, they're all the same technology because they're all got these fingers sticking out. As technology changed and receivers became more and more sensitive, they started getting all kind of things. So you're right. Antennas are designed to tune to certain frequencies. That's why this book made it quite specific. The crystals are tiny, microns. That's thousandths of an inch. Tiny stuff. They're like fractions of the width of a hair. I don't know. My hair is pretty thin, so maybe just fractions, tiny stuff.
Right. So my question is this biological antenna, according to what you know until now and according to your best understanding, is this biological antenna is also limited to certain frequencies, or do we have the ability to actually receive and transmit any frequency?
No, they are strictly very high frequency radio transmitters and transducers. Very high frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Your ability to transmit lower frequencies is done by the body. The frequencies for that the pineal gland are very high frequency. We're like into the light spectrum stuff and higher. Quantum frequencies. When I studied this, when I tried to learn this in the beginning, my mind screamed, no friggin' way. I wasn't even beginning to accept what Dr. Joe was saying when I started.
Yeah.
But
I've
read it from a dozen different authors, and they all say exactly what Dr. Joe is saying. That's what they do.
Yeah, for me, light is any electromagnetic frequency. So I don't view light as only the visible light.
Well, that's where it begins. That's not only that. That is like the dividing point. That is the doorway. What this little thing is tuned to is a spectrum higher than visible light. We have our eyes to see visible light and the spectrum near it. This goes a whole leap beyond physical light.
Right. But it's still, for me, it's also light, just because it is electromagnetic field. So in any case, what I'm going
you're not right in how you're saying that. What this tunes to is beyond the electromagnetic field. That is part of the light spectrum. This is the quantum field. This is a whole dimension beyond the electromagnetic field.
Because for me, it is really weird that
I agree to that.
nature gave us, no, it's not the weird that we have the pineal gland. It's weird for me that nature gave us something that we don't use, that we need a long protocol to start using.
See, that's where I disagree again. The
Okay.
body, every time you have part of the body you don't use, it withers away. They've done experiments. They took athletes and gave them a bunch of money. Says, okay, we're going to tape your arm to your chest. And over the months, that arm became so withered that he couldn't use his hand. The body eliminates what it doesn't use. That's why if you have a nerve cut and you can't move your foot, doctors have to find a way to stimulate it, or that foot will simply die. The body doesn't like things it doesn't use.
That's what I'm saying.
We use the pineal gland all the time.
That's what I'm saying. That's what
Okay.
I'm saying. So it's not that we have some kind of organ that is not used. We are using it all the time. If we're using it all the time, why do we need this special protocol to activate it? It's activated all the time.
I think because we only learn to use it in a very basic way. The potential is there to use it in great ways, but we use it in a very basic way. And so it stays alive because it is used all the time. It's just used rather basically.
Got you. Thank you. Thank you
Because
for clarifying.
I get that by the fact that animals have a pineal gland. That's why you can think, and a dog will look at you kind of funny because you rang his pineal gland. And he goes, I heard you in my head. What do you want? And you see him go, what? You know, that's how come you can be in meditation and a squirrel will come up to you and look at you like, did you call me? Or a bird will come up and sit on your hand because you decided to tune to it and love it. Animals have it. We use this in a light way. What Dr. Joe is giving us is instructions to go way beyond the typical. The potential is there. It's clearly there. We just need to practice it and get more from it. It's like having a car with a big engine in it, and we only drive around our neighborhood doing 25 miles an hour because we're afraid to get on the highway. The potential is there. Potential is outrageous. It's hard to exaggerate potential.
Thank you so much.
We just don't believe it for ourselves.
We were never educated. How could how you don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly.
And nobody mentions that.
Exactly. In
I
fact,
didn't hear any doctor, any biologist.
My heritage, it was of the devil. Yeah. If you do anything like that, that's the devil.
Mm-hmm. But doctors never speak about pineal gland. No biologist speaks
They won't even speak about vitamins and how to get healthy.
Yeah,
they can point to a cancer, cut it out, and say, go home and live, and we'll see it when it grows back.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, it's time for us to say goodnight. It's past time.
Yeah, thank
But
you.
I'm glad we had these last few conversations. They're pretty sensitive.
Yeah, very sensitive and